So this is Kurtis Rourke, the 6'5", 223-pound senior out of Indiana, a quarterback who is currently fifth in the Heisman Trophy odds right now. And he has been playing pretty much lights out football this entire season. And his stats back up why Kurtis Rourke could be a first-round draft pick and maybe even a Las Vegas Raider. All that and more on today's episode of the Raider D Podcast. All right, Raider Nation, Raiders and Raiderettes. Listen, if you guys love Raiders football and you have yet to subscribe to the channel, well, we are well on our way to 11,000 subscribers. And I tell you what I'm going to do. We have a special surprise giveaway that if this video gets 10,000 views, 1,000 likes, and 500 comments of Rourke down in the comment section below, I will announce the special prize giveaway in my next video, as well as one of you lucky winners. So let's get into today's episode, and I want to cover Kurtis Rourke because people keep bringing him up, which then forced me to go and really spend several hours investigating this guy and whether or not he could actually be a big-time playmaker for the Raiders. In fact, a franchise quarterback. And after watching a bunch of his game tape, I do gotta say, I was quite impressed. Now let's just dive into some of his numbers here. This year with Indiana, he transferred out of Ohio, where he spent 5 years there, 3 years as the starting quarterback. So far in the season, he is throwing almost 72% of his passes with a 72% completion rating, and he has 2,410 yards on the season so far. But what's impressive is that his average yards are 10.1 yards per pass. And that's pretty good when you have almost 72% completion. So he's not a check down Charlie. He's not just dink and dunk. It's not a bunch of screen passes. He's actually throwing the ball to deep and intermediate routes quite often during the games. And so far, he has 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he has a long of 71. But that's not what all just makes Rourke so intriguing for the Raiders, because one thing about the Raiders that we know that we need to adjust to is having a quarterback that can make plays outside of the pocket. This is something that Kurtis Rourke is really good at. And you would think a guy who is that tall, 6'5", 223 pounds, he wouldn't be able to really rush very much. But in fact, his last 3 years at Ohio, he had over 200 yards rushing. In his first year as a starter, he had 327 yards. This year so far, he only has 17, and I think that's because Indiana wants him to be more of a pocket passer, but he certainly has the top-end speed of an athlete to get out there and in space and pick up first downs and pick up touchdowns. He only has 2 touchdowns on the ground so far this year. He'll probably end up with 4 or 5. That's not really his strength. What his main strength is, however, is he is a great pocket passer who can get out of the pocket and extend plays. His preference is to keep his eyes down the field and throw the ball. And he does it pretty well. And this is another guy who can make the pass from either moving to his left or moving to his right. He is not a one-dimensional scramble quarterback. He can scramble left, he can scramble right, and he can still get pinpoint accurate with his passes. And again, on the season, he only has 4 interceptions. In fact, his first season starting for Ohio, he only had 7 interceptions. He's never had more than 5 in a season since. And so he also doesn't get sacked a lot. If you look right now, Cam Ward, who is one of the front runners for the Heisman, has already been sacked 20 times. Shedeur Sanders, another guy who's in the Heisman hunt, has already been sacked over 20 times. Whereas Kurtis Rourke has only been sacked 10 times on the season, guys. That means that he has a really good sense of pocket awareness, and he's able to escape that. He also has a really quick release as well. So he might take some hits, but he's getting rid of that ball, and he's not throwing it into dangerous spots. My comp for him is going to be a Justin Herbert. He is very much like him. He's tall, he's lanky, and he can run when he needs to. He has the athleticism and the speed to really open things up, which means you have to respect him when he's running with the ball, or when he's not even running with the ball and you're just going to open up big running lanes for him in the NFL. Well, especially in his rookie year, he might just take off and go pick up that first down on himself because he's able to do it with those legs. Kurtis Rourke is a senior. He's going to be out in the NFL. Current draft boards have him maybe sneaking into the first round. Now that his name is starting to be put in the odds for the Heisman. If he wins the Heisman, it's unlikely that he will. Again, he's going up against Travis Hunter, who's the front runner right now, Ashton Genty, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. That's a big list of guys that he would have to really just ball out and finish the season super strong with 36 touchdowns or something, which is going to be difficult because, right now he only has 21. So he'd have to get 15 more touchdowns in the last couple of games and maybe a bowl game or something like that. So I don't see that he's going to be able to do that. I don't think he'll win the Heisman this year. I don't think he'll even get in the top 3 this year. It's going to be very difficult unless something happens to Ashton Genty, in which case he could maybe slip into that top 3. However, if the Raiders are not able to get Shedeur Sanders, and all signs do point towards us taking Shedeur Sanders, he's dropped enough hints now. We know where he wants to go. Mark Davis, rumors are out there that he wants Shedeur Sanders. Obviously, Tom Brady has a very special relationship with Shedeur Sanders. And Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are 2 guys who are probably plug and play ready for the NFL. We'll see how great their careers will be and where they're going to land and all of that. Coaching, all of that matters. But those 2 guys are pretty much plug and play, ready to be starters in the NFL. Whereas there is some doubts about a guy like Drew Aller, a guy like Kurtis Rourke, a guy like Jackson Dart. Are these guys plug and play, ready to get into the NFL? Well, out of all of them, even Dillon Gabriel, who right now, according to the odds, is actually the front runner right now for the Heisman. I don't think that will continue to last, but we'll see if that happens. However, even if Dillon Gabriel were to win the Heisman, at 6 feet tall, more likely 5'11", I don't see him transitioning to the NFL very well. So I don't think he'll still be a high draft pick, but probably would get picked before Rourke. However, with Rourke, what you have to understand is his physical state, being 6'5", 223 pounds, and he can move, as well as he has a great arm talent. He can chuck the ball anywhere on that field, and his decision making is pretty sound. I would say outside of Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, the closest prospect to a plug and play NFL ready quarterback right now would be Kurtis Rourke. And so if the Raiders are not able to get Cam or Shedeur, and they were to go and get a big time playmaker in the first round, or maybe even just get a bunch of draft picks and trade away their first round and then pick up a Kurtis Rourke, who will most likely be a second round quarterback, I would be pretty happy with that. Number one, the reason why is because if you were to trade away your first round draft pick this year, you are stacked up to move up in the draft to grab Arch Manning next year in 2026, or the following year in 2026. If he comes out in 2026, that's the big if. But then you are getting a potential franchise quarterback. So you can really work him into your offense and you can see, is this dude really for real? Can he be a franchise quarterback? And if he can, then you don't even need Arch Manning at that point. Now you just load up on talent around him. And so I think it would be a really good idea to pay more attention to Kurtis Rourke as the season goes on and see exactly how his final year in college shakes out and where he's going to be drafted and whether or not it could be with the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, make sure that you are commenting down below, Rourke, if you want a chance to enter the mystery prize that we have. And no, it's not a t-shirt. It is something better if this video meets the metrics. I'll see you guys in the next one.